Everyone knows Socrates, and many also know his quote, "Get married no matter what. If you get a good wife, you will become an exception. If a bad one, you will become a philosopher." This statement sounds wise and funny, but what does it hide underneath? Socrates married a girl who was 30 years younger than him. I'll tell you briefly what came of it in this video. Once an elderly philosopher was strolling through the Athenian market and spotted a beautiful young woman loudly praising her merchandise. Upon seeing her, the philosopher was struck, for Xanthippe hailed from a noble lineage to which belongs the renowned politician and military leader Pericles. Socrates, a friend of Alcibiades, who was raised by Pericles, couldn't help but recognize her, though he had previously seen her in entirely different circumstances. Naturally, he approached her and initiated a conversation to find out what had compelled the aristocrat to engage in market trading. It turned out that the young woman had come to the market with the intention of catching Socrates' attention. In a city ravaged by a long series of wars, eligible men were scarce, while there was an excess of women ready for marriage. Finding an attractive young suitor proved difficult for Xanthippe, so she decided to choose as her future husband the intelligent, renowned, and influential Socrates. As soon as the philosopher realized this, he immediately remarked something like, "Since we are at the market, we must inspect the goods they are trying to sell me." He then reached out to her but received a slap in the face. This incident likely brought much amusement to the Athenians who witnessed it. With the aim of attracting Socrates' attention and marrying him, Xanthippe consciously and purposefully set out to sell pottery at the city market, and her task was successfully accomplished. By the time they met, Socrates was around 50 years old. In the years leading up to their marriage, apart from strolling through the market and socializing with friends over meals, he actively participated in military actions. In 430 BC, during the siege of Potidea, Socrates shared a tent with the future famous commander Alcibiades, who was raised in the household of Pericles. In one of the battles, Socrates saved his young comrade, and in 424 BC, Alcibiades himself saved Socrates in the Battle of Delium. In 422 BC, at the age of 47, Socrates took part in the campaign to Amphipolis. He was not only a philosopher but also a war hero and a comrade in arms to prominent figures in the Athenian state. Socrates married Xanthippe, and they had 3 children. Perhaps initially, Socrates' motive for marriage was a sense of a duty. In essence, there were indeed few men, and society exerted strong pressure on them to marry and have children. However, over time, genuine love blossomed between the spouses. This is evidenced by their behavior. When Socrates was sentenced to death, Xanthippe stood by him on his final day. Previously, along with his students and friends, she pleaded with him to flee, but Socrates refused. In the subsequent centuries, various people concocted different stories from the family life of Socrates and Xanthippe, portraying the woman in an unfavorable light. The legend of the philosopher's quarrelsome wife emerged from the text of Xenophon's Symposium. However, none of Socrates' other disciples, including Plato, wrote anything similar about Xanthippe.